This instructional video is a how-to, like so many of the others that I have posted. In this case, it's how to create a frequency distribution. And we're going to be doing this, as we are in so many of the others, on our iPad. Hi, it's Ron here, and the purpose of this video, as I've said, is to teach you the basics of how to do a frequency distribution. Let me assure you that frequency distributions are super important if you're going to be working in statistics. It's the basis of how to solve a lot of problems. You got to start out by creating this frequency distribution. So without spending a ton of time giving you any other extraneous information, let's get into creating this frequency distribution. This video deals with frequency tables. And it's a super important video because so much of the statistical work that you might be wanting to do is going to start out with the creation, or at least the understanding, of a frequency table. A completed frequency table, as you can see here, other than the description of the item, has 4 different mathematical calculations that, depending on what in statistics you're going to do, you're going to need some or all of these calculations. So on the left-hand side, when we talk about what the description is, if this was a real frequency table, it would list, it wouldn't say item 1, 2, and so on. It would list what the items are. If it was a supermarket, maybe it would be brands of peanut butter or dairy products, who knows. But at any rate, the second column shows you the number of occurrences of the item within the data set. And to get started, what you need to do is you need to total that column. So to do that, we're going to put in the equal sign. We're going to enter the word sum. When we do that, we're going to be able to highlight the data all the way down to the bottom and hit the green check. When we do that, it tells us that the total of this column is 631. Now that we've got the 631, we want to know what part of 631 each one of the frequency numbers represents. So to do that, and because we don't want to type the formula in for each row in the column, we want to be able to be smart and copy the formula. We're going to highlight the first cell next to the 87. We're going to put in the equal. We're going to say 87 by highlighting it. And we're going to put in the divided by. And here's something that's important. If you're doing this on an iPad Pro, you can't just highlight the 631, which is the total. You have to put it in manually, and so I'm going to key it in. Once I'm happy that that's in, I'm going to hit the green check, and I get this long decimal. I'm going to tap on that one time. It's going to say fill, the last item in the black menu. I'm going to get the little dots in the corners of the cell change to squares, telling me that this is ready to fill down. And I'm going to copy that down all the way. You're going to notice that the decimals are all long, but an important thing to point out to you is if you've done this right, the item in the last column, the last item in the column, I should say, is going to total 1, representing that you've accounted for 100% of the data that is in the list. Okay, now we're ready to tackle the next column, cumulative frequency. And what that is just what the label says. It's an accumulation of the items as we go down, starting with the first item and ending up with the 10th. So the first item then is simply equal, and we highlight the first item. That's what it is. When we hit the green check, obviously it tells us that we have 87. Now we want to create a formula, and we want to create a formula not so much that it's a problem to do the other 9 items, but let's say there was 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000 items on this list. We want an easy way to do that. So we're going to key in the equal sign. We're going to highlight the 87, and then we're going to enter plus, and we'll highlight the 42. when we hit the green check, it tells us that 87 and 42 is 129. More importantly, what we've done is we've got a formula. The formula says now add the item above, which was 87, to the item across. What we're going to want to do now is to do that to all of the rest of the rows in this column. And to accomplish that, we're going to tap the 129 answer. We're going to hit fill. And we're going to drag that down opposite the last item. You notice I didn't go all the way down. I just went to the 10th item. And we know that we're right here if the last number shows us that we have accounted for exactly the total of the frequencies that we got in the frequency column. And you see that we've done that. So we are in a position now where we have done the first 3 calculations. Okay, we're at the last column, relative cumulative frequency. And the calculation here is relatively straightforward. What we're going to do is we're going to highlight the cell next to the 87. We're going to key in equal. We're going to highlight the first number, 87. We're going to put in the divided by, and we're going to want to divide again every one of the items in the column by 631. So we're going to enter 631. When we're happy that that's right, we hit the green check. No surprise. We got the same number for the first item as the relative frequency. We're going to tap that cell once. We're going to say fill. And when we drag that down opposite the total, what does it give us? It tells us that we've accounted for 100% of all of the items because the last item totaled 1. Now remember, I told you that you could change how these numbers appear. You'll notice I just highlighted all of the numbers. I'm going to select ABC 1, 2, 3 from the second line, the white menu. When I do that, it gives me the ability to decrease the number of decimals if I want. Every time I tap that, the decimal decreases by 1. Let's say I only want to show that in 2 decimal places. That's what I've done. Let's say that what I want to do is show this as a percentage if I want. And again, if I do that, instead of showing me the decimal equivalent, I am able to see how this would look like as a percentage. I certainly could go back to the number format if I wanted. Now it shows me 2 decimals. And every time I tap the cell, it increases the number of decimal places that I'd be looking at. So that's just for information purposes only. So take the time. This is super important for you to do. So take the time to put this in a position where you can do it second nature. Because if you're going to be doing statistical work on your iPad Pro, this is extremely important for you to be able to do and to understand. You've just watched the video on creating a frequency distribution. Please recognize that this video is an essential one for those who will be solving statistics problems using Excel on their device. So hopefully you got a lot out of it. Sometimes it makes good sense to go back and view it a second time and just get yourself familiar with it. It becomes the basis for the start of a ton of different problems in statistics. So if you're going to get proficient at anything, I think frequency distribution should be at the top of your list. Recognize that there is a separate statistics section of videos on my website, and that location is shown there. It's a fairly short address. You can copy down and use that to access the website. And then in one place, you'll just see a list of all of the various videos that I have. below this video, if you get full screen and you go below the bottom of the video, you should see a place that you can post comments. You should also see the little red subscribe button that you can click on. And if you do that and the little bell option, what you will do is put yourself in a position where you will be part of the channel. Now, it's important to me, and I hope that you go along with this, to subscribe to my channel. That way you'll automatically get copies of new videos as I post them. And all you need to do is, if you don't already have one, set up a Google email address. You don't have to get rid of your old email address or the one that you've been using forever and ever and ever. But if you're going to be saving YouTube's to your system, YouTube wants you to have a Google address. And so you can go ahead and set one up, and they kind of walk you through it. There's really no big deal about getting it done. That's pretty much it. If you do take the time to subscribe and make comments, it will help others who are going to be looking at these videos as well as you. Because I take your comments very serious. If you like what you saw and you could see it in your heart to give me a thumbs up, terrific. If there are things lacking in what I've done and you need to see me make some changes to make it easier for you to understand, tell me what you had a problem with. And my commitment to you is I'm going to get in there and I'm going to do what's necessary to be sure that the questions that you have are answered in the videos that I'm producing. So hopefully I'll see you again in another one of the videos that I put out.